Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how top experts sell their ideas, their value, and their services. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want better clients, bigger deals, and higher fees. He's back, my friends. You want more? You got more. Our number one, most popular, most frequent guest, Mr. Mark Hunter, aka thesaleshunter.com. Welcome back to the show, buddy.
Hey, welcome back, because I was number one with you when this show first began. So clearly I am number one because I was your first episode, right?
That's right. So you're multiple number ones, and number one as first guest, and also number one most invited back repeat guest, because you always say smart things.
You need to get better guests.
I may need a couple upgrades here, but right now you'll do, my friend. You'll do. All right. Well, for the few people in the sales world who do not know the Mark Hunter story, would you please give us the Reader's Digest version? Kids, you don't know what Reader's Digest is? Wikipedia, look it up. You'll catch up. No problem. The Reader's Digest version of the Mark Hunter story.
Yes. Well, I am known as the Sales Hunter, and that is my real last name. People always ask me, what was your name before you changed it? I was not a born salesperson. I was not a born salesperson, even though I had the name Hunter. I only got into sales because I couldn't afford car insurance. That's it. I could not afford car insurance, so I had to get a job that supplied me with a company car. That is how I wound up in sales. Yeah. Yes, folks, I owe it to the Seattle Police Department. That's it.
There you go. There you go. So I'm curious, we're recording this on the cusp of 2025, and the world has changed in some dramatic ways. We're after the election craziness, no matter left, right, center, blue, red, purple, doesn't matter. It is what it is. We got what we got. At least the uncertainty is gone. Talk about when you're looking at anything, whether it's recession, inflation, tariffs. I mean, we're in for 4 years of crazy uncertainty, and frankly, no matter which party won, that would still be the same statement. Salespeople will sometimes come across a buyer, hey, we don't know where the industry's going. We don't know where our company's going. There's so much change. There's so much turbulence. There's so much transition. Call me back next quarter. What would you say is a sales leader's or a sales professional's best antidote against uncertainty in the buying environment?
Go deeper, not broader. Let me unpack that, what I mean by that. Go deeper. Because I'll tell you what, clients, customers, everybody's going to be more uncertain than ever. This is a given. And regardless who won the election, we are in a permanent state of change. And that means we have to create a level of confidence that we've never created before with customers. You don't get that by going broad, by touching thousands of people with silly, stupid emails. You get that by going deep. We are going to become better when we go deeper. And this means you really have to become that expert within a very tight niche. And oh, by the way, your niche is going to get even tighter than it was before, because that's the only way anybody succeeds in this world. I don't care what business you're in. You better have a tight niche.
And just again, for the folks that might be newer into the world of sales, when you say niche, we usually use that word in an entrepreneurial setting where you can choose your target market, you can choose your deep specialization. If we're selling for a company, the company is just, hey, we got our products, we got our services, we got our catalog, we got to sell what we got. How can a salesperson develop a niche or a specialization within a sales or organization that might otherwise be broad?
Yeah, because you're going to niche your customer. You're going to niche. You have to create a level of knowledge with your customer. Again, you may sell a consumable and you're going into a number of different industries. But for each industry that you're calling and each person, you got to be as specialized and as focused as possible. They got to feel like you know them better than they know themselves. This is the key to unlocking. And let's not kid ourselves. AI gives us a leg up on this. AI is a tool that we can use to help give us knowledge. It doesn't mean AI replaces us. No, AI augments us. AI helps provide us the information, but we got to get extremely tight. Because when I'm talking to David Newman, I want David Newman to feel like, man, nobody knows me better than Mark Hunter. That's really creepy. That's really scary. We'll leave it alone right there.
So what kind of research should we be doing online, offline, and with AI tools that would give us this insight into their heart and soul?
Yeah, we got to go downstream and upstream. Downstream. Who are their customers? Who are they selling to? I want to be able to bring insights to my customers about their customers. What are the benefits? What are the things that they're looking for? I want to go upstream. What are the challenges that they're having from maybe their supply chain, from customers they're dealing with? What's happening with their competitive set? In other words, who are their peers? You know what's amazing? I love asking salespeople, so you're about ready to call on this customer. Who are their competitors? And they have no clue. They have no clue. Now stop and think about that. You and your business, David Newman, well, of course, you're class of one, so you have no competition. But if for anybody normal, you would know who your competition is. And again, AI is pretty easy. All you have to do is go out and, AI and go, who are the competitors to David Newman? And it's going to give you 3.6 billion people. No.
Right. So this is really great. I want people to stop what they're doing, back up the car, pull over. Where I thought you were going with this is we need to know our competitors. And some salespeople who are maybe not at the top of their game, they couldn't even name 5 of their own competitors. Now you're saying, okay, the bar's been raised. I'm calling on someone at the hard drive division of IBM, right? That's all, it's an industrial manufacturer. They resell hard drives to companies whose names you know. Who are their competitors? And how can your product, your service, or your solution help them get a leg up with their market share, their mind share, their competitive advantages, etc.? So it's not about knowing our competitive landscape, it's knowing your prospects' competitive landscape and being able to speak intelligently or ask questions intelligently about what they're doing about that situation.
That is so spot on, because stop and think about this. Does your customer care about your competitors? No. But we got to understand. So in this landscape we're in, we're being tasked with really knowing more knowledge, really being knowledgeable more so than ever.
Yeah.
What does that mean? We need AI. Because again, if I was just reaching out to a client of mine in India, because everybody's got a client in India. And sure enough, I had to go out to chat. And I said, who are their competitors? Because I don't know the business landscape in India as well as I should. So before I reached out to them, I needed to find out what's happening out there. Because is there a competitive insight that I could bring to my customer? This is our whole value, is when we bring to our customers knowledge they're not getting elsewhere. Now, stop and think about this, because there's so much knowledge. There's so much information out there. It's a noisy world. So many times what we have to do is we almost have to de-educate our customer, because our customer may be knowledgeable in this area, but it's not the right information. So but problem is I can't go in and say, you're stupid. No, I can't go in and say that. I could, but I wouldn't last very long. I got to go in and create enough trust and enough of a relationship with them that I could, when I begin to speak, they begin, oh, wow. Yeah. That's how we become the value added salesperson. Because remember, sales is not something we do to somebody. Sales is something we do for somebody.
Amen. Amen times 10. I had a recent guest on named Christopher Lochhead, who is one of the category pirates, and he has a whole series of books on category design. And I mention this only to let people know that I do have other guests besides Mark Hunter on this show. Once in a while, not often, but once in a while. And one of Christopher's sayings, which relates to what you were just talking about, one of his mantras is, the most important kind of work that an executive will do, including a sales executive, is thinking about thinking. So let's unpack what you just said about information is everywhere. We're in a state of information overload. I think what I'm taking from your comment, Mark, is that how-to information has become totally commoditized. With ChatGPT and Claude and all the other AI platforms, how-to information, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, brainstorming, all of these things. AI is way better than any sales professional. Where I think and I'd love you to hear your feedback on this, where sales professionals can really add value in 2025 and beyond is not in how-to information, but in how to think about a problem, what to believe about a problem or a circumstance or a situation, and what's coming next that is totally personalized and totally customized to that one prospect inside that one company that you are dealing with. So share a little bit about what are your thoughts on the salesperson's role in helping prospects process what to think, what to believe, and what's coming next.
This is so spot on. Think about you yourself as a salesperson, as an insurance agent. Ooh, that's a weird feeling. But here's what I mean by it. What is insurance about? Insurance is about minimizing risk. Insurance is about helping you see the challenges that you might face. Oh, guess what? That's what we need to be to those C-level people. We need to help them see around the corner. We need to help them see other things that they're not seeing. Many times what happens is you get so deep into your own world. And that old expression, you can't see the forest because you're so close to the trees, right?
Yeah.
And you don't see that. This is why I say salespeople, we have to broaden our horizons. I do a lot of work in the tech space, and there's a tech podcast that I listen to all the time. Why? Because I'm learning all kinds of things that are going on out there that I wasn't aware of. I'm not from the tech space, but I've got to become knowledgeable in that. And think about this for a moment. If you want your customers to think differently, what are you sharing with them that demonstrates you're thinking differently? I'll give you an example. I was talking with a tech CEO the other day, and I just happened to mention that. I said, yeah, it's fascinating, but there's a tech podcast that I've been listening to. It's called Acquired. And he was like, oh, really? Tell me about it. And we just talked for about 20 seconds, then we moved on to something else. But think about this for a moment. What did that tech CEO come away with? Oh, wow. Mark's thinking outside the box. Mark's thinking differently. Mark's going somewhere else down the road. Yes, that's it. And a rising tide lifts all boats. I found that when I began talking at this level to people, those people I'm talking to, they begin to up their game. I have several CEOs that I talk to on a regular basis. I do business with their companies. What's fascinating is I think I do business with their companies only because I have such great conversations with the CEO. In fact, this one said, hey, are you still working with my sales team? I mean, he was asking me if I'm still working with a sales team. And I said, yeah, I sure am. Yeah, it's okay. That's good. That's good. It was like, Mark, you give me so much of your time. But what does this do? It takes you to a different level. And oh, by the way, that CEO in turn has introduced me to probably 3 or 4 other CEOs in his space.
Yeah.
We have to be acting differently.
Hey, super quick station break question. Have you seen our free executive briefing on elevating your CEO brand? Check it out right now at doitmarketing.com/webinar. And now back to the show. Let me ask you about CEO selling, because this is a big problem that sales professionals, and maybe this is just human nature, but I think sales professionals are much more comfortable selling and prospecting at a level below the one that is productive for them. So if your economic buyer is the VP, oh, I can't call the VP. Let me call the director. Let me call the assistant director. If you're selling to the C-suite, oh, let me call the VP. If you're selling at the board level, let me call the CFO. Let me call the CTO. They're techie, and we sell techie products, and maybe the CTO will be my economic buyer, knowing that no one ever buys your technology solution unless the CEO is fully informed and fully on board, and maybe even driving the sale. So we're comfortable selling lower than we should be. how do we break that comfort addiction, and how do we start having CEO level conversations with actual CEOs?
Well, first of all, I want to be having conversations with both levels, because many times if I'm selling to the CEO, they're going to ask for the recommendations of maybe the CFO and so forth. So I'm for sure talking to the CEO. And the way I'm talking to the CEO, first of all, you have to understand the C-suite. Let's just deal with C-suite. You don't call your way into the C-suite. You refer your way into the C-suite. There has to be some sort of, what's the credibility that you bring to the party, either because of your reputation in the marketplace or because you're coming in by way of somebody else's name. Somebody has referred you in. Now, for the most part, it generally is because we have a strong enough of a reputation out there. So people like us. This is why, as salespeople dealing in the C-suite, you got to sit there and say, are you communicating in the sphere that those level of people are dancing in? This is why, I sit here and say, where are these people hanging out at? You better be hanging out there. And now they're not playing around on LinkedIn. They have a LinkedIn profile, but you know what? They probably have their PR team managing their LinkedIn page. They're not looking at it. So how do I get in there? I've got to get in there because I'm showing up at a particular meeting that they may show up. It may be an industry conference. And this is one of the best ways to get into the C-suite is by being active in your respective industry and participating in panels. Now, the reason I say panels is very key, because to be a panel, it requires more than one person. Oh, wow, that's interesting. There's going to be 4 or 5 people, right? So what does that do? It allows you to create relationships. It allows you to create connections. We have to also not be afraid of just picking up the phone and building a network. Example I love to use is I moved here to Dallas about 3 years ago. And before I moved, I created a list of 85 people. I wanted 100, and I stopped at 85. It was like, that's enough. Who I wanted to meet. Oh, by the way, at the top of the list, Ross Perot Jr. and Mark Cuban. Now, have I met either of those? No, but you know what? I'm one contact away from both those people because I've met so many people. And I don't know if my name has ever come up in a conversation with Ross Perot or Mark Cuban. I doubt it. And then again, I don't know what they could do for me from a business perspective. But I say this as an example. We have to put ourselves in a position that we're seen visibly by people who play at that level. And again, it's going to come about through different methods. It's going to come about through different mediums. You and I are both, we've written books and so forth. You know what I love to do is I love to send CEOs books. Oh, not my book, somebody else's book. I love sending the book Atomic Habits, James Clear. Okay, everybody in the free world has read that book, okay? So I'm no longer sending that. A couple of years before that book came out, I was sending Ray Dalio's book, Principles. Yeah. And then I kind of shifted to Atomic Habits. Now, I really don't have my, on the next big thinking book, but I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
And I love sending it out. Why? Because again, this is elevating yourself to a different level. You see, it goes back to what I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
We just keep up in the ante.
Can I give you a great book recommendation to solve your problem?
Yeah, do it.
Believe it or not, no. I knew you thought that's what I was going to say. It is a fantastic book called Diary of a CEO.
Diary of a CEO. Right. Thank you.
And so obviously, if you are sending it to a CEO, it has their name in the title. It has their title in the title of the book. So it's like, why is he sending me this? Oh, because it's written for people like me. Right. But it's a fantastic book. It's kind of the kind of book that you and I both like to read and write. Short, punchy, to the point, CEO to CEO, peer level advice about what it takes to be a successful CEO in the current landscape.
I love that. And see, here's the whole thing. If I send my own book, he's just trying to sell himself.
That's marketing. That's not a gift. That's a transaction.
I send somebody else's book, and I'm trying to intellectually raise your game. Okay, I'm going to get Diary of a CEO.
Diary, look it up. Look it up on Amazon. I'll see if I can get the guy on the podcast now. Now that we're pumping up his book, you might as well be here next.
I suppose the foreword was written by David Newman. No.
I don't know this guy, and so hang on. Let's actually get the name. It is Stephen Bartlett. Stephen Bartlett. So Stephen Bartlett, if you're listening, I love your book, and I think Mark Hunter should send copies to all of his clients and prospects.
There you go.
There you go. So let's talk about Outbound, because Outbound has gotten a bad name. For a number of years, you were leading and one of the partners in this groundbreaking conference whose name was Outbound. What is the state of Outbound? You mentioned, hey, forget about LinkedIn for CEOs. They're behind bulletproof glass. All of their communication is screened. There's gatekeepers out the wazoo. What is Outbound at the C-level look like? You mentioned one thing, which is gifting books. I love that. What are some other principles that you teach your folks when it comes to Outbound and the C-suite?
Yeah, Outbound at the C-suite has changed dramatically over the last 5 to 10 years. I knew a gentleman who at one point in time, when he was trying to get into a CEO, would send them literally a $500,000 gift. Unfortunately, or not fortunately, if you're a publicly traded company, chances are that CEO can no longer accept that gift, period.
Right.
Because they have a $25 limit or a $50 limit or something. That's why I like a book. So some of those things are off the table. The old things of we're going to wind up taking you on an unbelievable excursion someplace. I know a lot of companies that what they do is they would put on these little retreats or something like that. And they'd invite in 10 CEOs and all fly in on their jets. Many times those are off the table. They're off the table due to either security reasons, they're due to off the table because just can't allow myself to get into an environment where who knows who's going to have a smartphone and am I going to be the next viral video out there? So those are off the table. It really comes down to just creating relationships. This is the way we get in. It has to be by way of relationships. The path is getting longer and longer, but here's the beauty about it. Here's why I like it. It's getting longer and longer for everybody. So guess what? The person who stays in the game wins the prize. I see too many salespeople. What they do is they chase their way in, or they try to get in, and they make a couple failed attempts, and then they step away. This is where, if you are working, we were talking about at the beginning, if you're working for a normal company, you have a CEO. Guess what? You better get your CEO on the phone, making a call to the CEO of the company you want to get in with. One of the things that I always tell any company I'm working with is you take the two top officers. One is going to be internally focused and one's going to be externally focused. Now, I don't care if it's the president that's externally or the president's internal or the COO, but one is internal, one is external. This is absolutely key. Now, so that is a tremendous asset to you as a salesperson, if you can work in that environment. If you don't work in that environment, again, what it comes back to is you're probably going to have to play the game of being deeply involved in that association. What is that industry association? Can you belong to it? Now, if you're an outside vendor, you may not be able to belong to it, but you can certainly be able to contribute to it in some manner. That you may be the one who can provide content, who can help advise committees, help.
Yeah.
And that's just gold. That's just gold.
Yeah. Hey now, what a great episode, right? Are you ready to build your own Market Eminence game plan using the power of speaking, publishing, and podcasting? Book a chat with me to build your plan and see if and how I might help you further. The link is doitmarketing.com/call. No sales team, no pressure, no goofballs, just you and me having a CEO to CEO chat about what's possible for you and your company. Hop on with me, doitmarketing.com/call. And now, let's jump right back into the interview. It sounds like the real juice here is in tapping into the ecosystem and tapping into partnerships. Perhaps even asking yourself the question, who already has my prospect as their client? And how can I cooperate and collaborate with that person who has an adjacent, non-competing product or service, tap into other people's audiences, other people's client base, and introduce a new stream of value that makes my partner look great and puts me in front of their client, AKA my prospect, in a high trust, low pressure, value add situation. Is that correct?
That is correct. And that's why I say you got to go in at multiple levels. You have got to go in because you may be trying to get into the CEO. You may be trying to refer your way in and so forth. You are making traction, we'll say, at lower levels. And I know this when I was in corporate America, many times I'd be sitting in the boardroom and there's the CEO of the company, there's the president of the company, and I'm there. I'm one of the senior officers of the company. And we're talking about something. And somebody's name is going to come up. And I remember a couple of times that CEO, oh yeah, I've heard of that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Now suddenly you call next time and you get that magical. Yeah, I'll take that meeting. Hey, here's two magical tricks that I love in dealing with C-suite people, and they still work to this day. Ask for 20-minute meetings. We'll say you do get the gatekeeper on the call. Don't ask for a 30-minute meeting. Don't ask for because let's say nobody gets that. If you say, I just want a couple minutes, I'll just say, send me the information. I'll pass it along. Ask for 20 minutes. That's what I found is kind of the magic moment. The other piece is this: call them at the top of the hour. The top of the hour is the one time when that CEO may not have a meeting. I'll give an example. There was a company I was trying to get into in Montreal. And I wanted in, and I could not get in. And I called literally at right the top of the hour. And I was trying to reach the COO of the company. The COO answered the phone. Now, clearly, I was not his 11 a.m. phone call. Okay, I was not his 11 a.m. phone call. But I had some information. I had some key information because they had just acquired another company, and I had some insights on it. Oh, that fascinating. We were able to connect back up later on in the afternoon. Had a great call. And I'll tell you what, I got off that phone call because literally I asked for lunch the next day. I said I was going to be in town. Well, I wasn't going to be in town. I was in the States. But I hustled my way up there. And I got there and I had lunch in his executive dining room for lunch the next day and landed a major, major contract. Again, just using that top of the hour, because it's the one time when the assistant may not answer the phone, but they answer, because again, that's just the 11 o'clock meeting. I'll answer the phone.
Yeah, for sure. I've also heard this sort of early morning and then later in the evening, like before 8 a.m., after 6 p.m., because they're still taking calls.
Yes. Oh, yeah. By all means. This, again, another CEO, another C-suite deal. I love Saturday morning emails. Here's the beauty of a Saturday morning email. CEOs, C-suite people never stop working on the business. But the difference is this: the C-suite person goes to a soccer game on the weekend, and so does the mid-level person. The mid-level person is going to coach their kids. The senior level person is going to watch their grandkids. And while their grandkids aren't playing, what are they doing? They're scrolling their phone, right? They're scrolling their phone. You send them an email at 6:30 in the morning, and don't program it. Come on, people. You're better than that. Don't program it. Do it physically.
Yeah.
Hey, I just saw this in the Wall Street Journal, and you just send 2 bullet points. Don't include a link. Don't include a PDF. Don't include any attachments because they're not going to open it. But you just say, hey, just saw this and was fascinating article, was thinking of you, boom, boom. It's amazing at the open rate and the response rate that you'll get for those senior level people, because their grandson or granddaughter isn't in the game right now. So they got 6 minutes. So what do? They're scrolling email.
Right. So tell me about don't send the link. You just summarize the article, 2 bullets, and it made me think of you.
I just put 2 bullet points in there. Hey, just saw this article in today's Wall Street Journal, and just a couple bullet points. Because again, all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to convey that I'm thinking of them and share with them one little piece of information. If they're intrigued, they'll access. But if I send a link, it may easily go to spam.
Sure.
If I send a PDF, it may. Again, no senior officer of any company. You and I we don't open up links from people we don't know.
Yeah, true.
Right. Because again, the last thing, so a senior level person is incredibly, and many times their phones are more bolted down than anybody else in the organization, because you can't afford malware. I've been trying this with Jamie Dimon for some time, so no.
Very nice. Well, I do want to, that's so funny. My next thing I was going to say is, when we talk about CEOs, a lot of people have a misconception that large corporations have one CEO. So if you want to do business with JP Morgan Chase, you are not going to be selling sales training to Jamie Dimon. I know you know that, but I'm saying this for the benefit of our audience. Inside of any Fortune 500 company, there could be anywhere from 50 to multiple hundreds of CEOs, divisional presidents, brand presidents, sector, segment, international managing directors. Johnson & Johnson, I used to do some work with. Every country has a CEO. They're called managing directors, but they oversee everything that happens in France and Greece and the UK and Belgium. So you talk to the managing director at J&J for Belgium, that is a CEO. He's in charge of every product division in that country. Some of these quote unquote smaller CEOs, they have budgets that are $6 billion out of $100 billion company. And it's like, oh, well, that's not the CEO. No, but it's a CEO. And so when we say top officer, top decision maker, don't think that you're selling to that one super CEO. I call them super CEOs in these gigantic corporations, because you literally have 50 to multiple hundreds of division CEOs, product or service CEOs. In banking, every state has a CEO or a president of that state, president of Pennsylvania, president of Texas, right? Divisions, right? The credit division, the loan division, the merchant services division. So people need to think more broadly about this concept of CEO, and there's going to be a CEO that you can reach that is a division or a subset of a much larger organization, and that person needs your help just as much as the big guys up at the top that are impossible to reach. Let me ask you, we talked about partnerships, and of course, you have a long-standing partnership with the awesome and amazing Meredith Elliott Powell. Talk to us about Sales Logic and what all the different forms of this collaboration have taken over the years.
You know what? Sales is not a solo activity. Sales is a team sport. I'm going to encourage anybody and everybody. You have to be part of a team. Now, you may be a solopreneur, but you've got to find a team. You've got to find your community. For me, one of my communities is Meredith Elliott Powell. We do a podcast, Sales Logic. And it works because of a couple things. First of all, we demonstrate to salespeople consistency. And we do it every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, regardless of where we are in the world, literally in the world, because I've been in Hawaii, I've been in Japan, she's been in Europe, I've been in Europe, we've been but we always find a way that 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we're doing live. That demonstrates consistency. But Sales Logic, what it is it really is a platform for she and I to share the insights, because every week we're talking to people like you, talking on audiences, we're talking on stages, and we're learning insights, and we play them back to salespeople. And through that, then we've created this mastermind community of people. Again, a community. Wow, that's very interesting, because you've got to have this following. Because here's the whole thing. If you get into a valley, who's going to pull you out? Who's going to pull you out? If you don't have somebody to help pull you out, you're going to stay in that valley a lot longer than you need to. So this is why you're a master of that. You've got people that you are aligned with. So that's the big value around Sales Logic podcast. And from that, then we have the mastermind group, and we're in the process of writing a book, and we've got just a ton of different things like that. But it's all about contributing and sharing with the greater sales community.
So this also, as we're landing the plane here, I think this goes back to a mantra that one of my early sales mentors shared with me that now may seem obvious, but I think at the time it was like a huge revelation. The saying was this: don't worry about being a better salesperson, be a better person, and you'll get more sales.
That is so spot on.
And you, my friend, demonstrate that in spades all the time with everyone that you talk to and everyone that you connect with. So that's huge. I know people are going to want to get connected and stay connected to more Mark Hunter brilliance. What links can we put in the show notes? Where can we send people to connect with you?
Well, thesaleshunter.com, the Sales Hunter, because I'm not just Sales Hunter, I'm the Sales Hunter. And that's the domain name that was available 20 years ago when we bought it. But that's the best place. You can follow me on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm all over out there. If you can't find me by way of Google, I haven't done my job.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Sales Logic, also Sales Logic podcast.
Sales Logic podcast. I have another podcast that you've been on, David, the Sales Hunter podcast. Gee, there's a unique name, the Sales Hunter podcast. And of course, my books, Aligned for Sales, High Profit Selling, High Profit Prospecting, and more books in the works.
More books to come. Excellent. Well, Mark Hunter, you are a rock star. You are a generous soul and a good friend. I appreciate you. Thank you for spending this time with us.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.